I think if the debate is really for them about police brutality, they should probably protest the officers on the field that are protecting them instead of the American flag.
The White House is building on the push against NFL players kneeling during the national anthem.
This debate now is heating up with Colts players, and now a local company is getting into the fray. First, our Kevin Rader live with the response to the kneeling during Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, Ann and John, it is not the first time politics have violated the sanctity of sport, and it certainly won't be the last. From Tommy Smith and John Carlos in 1968 to Colin Kaepernick now in 2017, it is on the front burner again. So the question now is, what's next? If you drive into Whiteland off I-65 on East Main, it won't take you long to notice the road lined with flags all the way into town.
We're like the all-American town, sort of like the Mayberry of the Midwest.
Lester Robertson has 2 flags outside his house, and who can blame him? His son served in Iraq. That's why what happened at NFL stadiums, including Lucas Oil on Sunday, hurt so deeply.
You don't disrespect the flag. You don't disrespect the Constitution. And it really irks me when I see these people standing or kneeling at the national anthem. They may as well turn their back on the flag and show their real cowardness, because they're not going to pick up a gun and go out here to a foreign war in another country and put their life on life.
A flag also flies above Donnie Wheaton as he receives a wedding gift from his new bride, Marcy. A brick with his name on it to honor his service during Desert Storm being placed at the base of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument.
I do feel truly honored with in the company of such heroes from World War II and Korean War.
His name will join 2,000 others, but 200,000 bricks are still waiting to honor Hoosier veterans. But he sees this fight differently.
I believe Colin Kaepernick is exercising his right to free speech is what we fought for. You know, you don't have to agree with the speech. That's not necessary, but he is exercising his right to free speech and, you know, what he believes in. And that's certainly his right. That's why these people served and these people died for that right.
So he was not offended by what he saw Sunday.
Well, not in a country where you can't do it. Some countries you do that and you put to death. And that's not the case here in America. They can exercise, their right to free speech.
We are all used to putting sides or pitting sides together, and when it comes to politics and sport, we just don't like it when the two collide. Coming up at 6, another idea that was proposed I heard today. How about the NFL players actually boycotting games and picking up signs outside instead? More on that coming up on Eyewitness News at 6. John.
All right. Kevin Rader reporting live for us tonight. Thanks.
Well, the Indianapolis Colts did get their first win of the season yesterday, but a lot of people stayed focused on what happened before kickoff.
That's because some players on both teams protested during the national anthem. The debate over the message they're trying to send continues today, and our Jason Spells has what the players are saying today, and he joins us now live in studio. Jason?
Yeah, good afternoon. After the president's comments over the weekend, many expected to see NFL teams take some sort of action during the national anthem, and as a team, the Colts did indeed decide to face the flag with their arms interlocked. But a few on the team, well, they took a knee. Colts safety Darius Butler amongst those players. He once again addressed the media today about his decision to kneel yesterday. When asked about the protests, he was asked how long these protests are going to continue. He told reporters, I kind of don't want President Trump to kind of hijack the narrative of what the protests started with and what it's ultimately about. But he definitely kind of, I guess, threw fire on it in a sense. For me, it was a point where I had to make a stand. I had to be clear about where I stood as far as how I felt. It's important to me how I'm viewed by the fans, but for me, my family, and my community, myself, how I sleep at night, that obviously holds the most weight. The sports world's reaction to Donald Trump isn't just limited to the National Football League. The president also took to Twitter to rescind his White House invitation to the NBA champion Golden State Warriors. Well, the basketball world weighed in. LeBron James on Twitter, and LeBron James again today at the Cleveland Cavaliers Media Day.
Because we know this is the greatest country in the world. It's the land of the free. But we still have problems just like everybody else. And when we have those problems, we have to figure out a way how we come together and be as great as we can be as the people. Because the people run this country, not one individual, and damn sure not him.
Yeah, LeBron didn't hold back on Twitter, not holding back in person. The Indiana Pacers had their media day as well this morning. Coming up at 6, Pacers President Kevin Pritchard addressed the national anthem debate and the stance the Pacers organization intends to take.
And we'll have more on that coming up. It's not going to end when football season ends. We have other seasons coming along.
We have seen responses in baseball. We've seen responses in NASCAR. This is a storyline that will continue. It is not just limited to NBA or NFL. You've seen the sporting world react. You have to believe they will continue, as well as anytime the president speaks on Twitter, that elicits a response as well.
And what the Pacers say coming up, you bet. Thanks,
Yeah,
Jason.
and I bet it's not going to be a surprise after we saw what the WNBA Fever did this summer. Well, an Indianapolis business taking some heat for its response to the national anthem protest. GG Cupcakes posted this photo on Instagram this morning with the American flag hanging in the window of the storefront. The caption reads, "All flag-loving Americans are welcomed." Well, hours later, after some backlash, Gigi's clarified their comment with another post on social media, and it says in part, "Every color has fought and died for that flag, dark-skinned or light. We have never refused anyone, nor will we. If you have any form of bigotry, hatred towards others, you are wrong, and we prefer that you go elsewhere." Gigi's also apologized to anyone who may have been offended by the original caption and posting.